In a quiet mountain village of Nagano, Japan, I once met a woman named Etsuko. She was 92 years old. Every morning, rain or snow, she would walk nearly a mile uphill to visit a little Shinto shrine. No cane, no limp, no help, just her and the path ahead. When I asked her how she did it, she smiled and said something that stuck with me for the rest of my life. I respect my legs. They carry me through the world. So I feed them wisely. Over the last 45 years, I've treated thousands of elderly patients, both in the high-tech hospitals of New York and the peaceful clinics of rural Japan. And there is one truth I've seen over and over again. Your legs are the first to betray you as you age. Not your heart, not your eyes, not even your memory. It begins with the subtle struggle to rise from a chair, the slight hesitation on the first step. And often, the cause isn't just age. It's what we've been putting into our bodies every single day with the best intentions, but without full understanding. Today, I want to talk to you about something deeply important. 3 vitamins. Popular, well-marketed, and widely trusted. But if used the wrong way, especially after age 60, they may be slowly weakening your legs, stealing your balance, and quietly compromising your independence. You won't see it coming. There won't be warning labels. But once you know what to look for, you'll never see your morning supplement the same way again. Let me take you deeper into the truth and how you can protect your legs, your strength, and your freedom. 1. The first warning sign of aging is not what you think. I've always believed that life teaches its greatest lessons not in hospitals or textbooks, but in moments of quiet observation. Years ago, I was visiting a longtime patient of mine in the small coastal town of Nanao. His name was Mr. Hiroshi, an 81-year-old former carpenter, proud and independent. He lived alone in a wooden house he had built himself half a century ago. No elevator, no fancy amenities, just stairs, 12 of them, to get from his front gate to his kitchen door. One afternoon, I arrived to find him sitting on the 3rd step, out of breath. "I think my legs are just tired today," he said with a weak smile. "They don't feel like they used to." I offered to help him up, but he waved me off, insisting he could manage. And he did, but slowly, cautiously, as if every movement had become a decision. That's when it hit me. It wasn't a disease. It wasn't an injury. It was something quieter, something more insidious. The beginning of decline doesn't arrive with a diagnosis. It begins with the legs. Not your cholesterol, not your memory, not your blood pressure. The first sign that the body is changing, that time is starting to whisper, is when your legs hesitate. When getting up from a chair takes a bit more effort. When climbing stairs suddenly feels like an uphill battle. When the walk around the block starts to feel just a little too far. You see, the muscles in your legs are the foundation of your independence. They support you, stabilize you, carry you through every moment of your life. But as we age, something called sarcopenia, the gradual loss of muscle mass, begins to erode that foundation, often without us noticing. It starts as a whisper, then a wobble, then sometimes a fall. And here's the most dangerous part. Many people shrug it off. They say, "I'm just getting old." But that assumption, that resignation, is where the real danger lies. Because weakness, like rust, doesn't stop once it starts. Mr. Hiroshi's story didn't end there. We worked together slowly, patiently, through diet, gentle movement, and yes, reevaluating the supplements he had been taking out of habit, not necessity. Within 6 months, he was back to climbing those stairs without stopping. Not as fast as before, perhaps, but with strength and with confidence. And that's the lesson. Aging is not a loss. It's a call to listen, to adapt, to act with awareness. The real battle begins not with your legs, but with your mindset. So if you found yourself hesitating before standing, avoiding stairs, or sitting more than you used to, not out of comfort, but out of quiet concern, this may be your call. And if you're wondering what could be causing this early decline beyond age alone, you might be surprised by what we're about to uncover next. Because sometimes, it's not what's missing from your body, but what you've been adding in unknowingly that begins to erode your strength. Let me show you the first of these hidden saboteurs. A vitamin you've likely trusted for years, but maybe quietly betraying you. Let's talk about vitamin E. 2. Vitamin E, the silent saboteur of leg strength. I still remember when Margaret first came into my clinic in Tokyo. She was a retired English teacher from San Diego, living in Japan to be closer to her daughter. 76 years old, graceful, soft-spoken. She loved taking long walks through Yoyogi Park each morning. Said it helped her feel connected to the seasons. But one autumn morning, something changed. She told me she had started feeling off. Nothing serious at first, just a bit of unsteadiness when getting out of bed. Then she began struggling with steps. Eventually, she started using the handrail even for a single stair. I feel like I'm floating, she said. Like my legs aren't always under me. Her blood pressure was normal. No signs of stroke. Reflexes intact. But her muscle tone, particularly in her thighs and hips, had subtly weakened. I asked her about her supplements. "Oh, I've been taking vitamin E every morning for years," she said. "For my heart and my skin. 800 IU. That's when the picture started coming together. You see, vitamin E has long been marketed as a miracle nutrient. Heart health, anti-aging, immune support. It sounds like the perfect companion for aging gracefully. And in small, natural doses from food, it truly can be beneficial. But Margaret, like many others, had unknowingly crossed into dangerous territory. Vitamin E is a fat-soluble vitamin. Unlike vitamin C or B, which are flushed out if unused, fat-soluble vitamins don't leave easily. They stay. They build. Over time, they can accumulate in the liver and fatty tissues. And when they do, they can begin to interfere with critical systems, especially in the muscles and nerves. Studies have shown that excess vitamin E, particularly above 400 IU per day, can impair neuromuscular function, leading to muscle weakness, poor coordination, and a greater risk of falls, especially in older adults. It doesn't happen overnight. It starts subtly. A little fatigue during your walk. A strange heaviness when climbing stairs. A moment's hesitation when getting up from the couch. And because there's no pain, no rash, no fever, it's easy to ignore. We blame age. We think, well, I'm just slowing down. But the truth is, sometimes the thing you trust most is the one quietly taking your strength away. Margaret had no idea. She thought she was protecting herself. But in reality, that daily capsule, taken out of habit, not need, was slowly undermining her independence. We stopped the supplement, focused on a whole food diet rich in natural vitamin E like almonds, spinach, and sunflower seeds where the body can better regulate intake. 3 months later, her balance had improved. The handrail was only for rainy days. And the best part? She was back to walking beneath the yellow ginkgo trees that lined her favorite path in the park. Her story is not uncommon. And that's the lesson. What nourishes you at 30 may harm you at 70. Our bodies change. Our needs change. And if we don't adapt, if we keep chasing youth with pills instead of wisdom, we may slowly trade strength for fragility. So ask yourself, are you taking vitamin E because your body truly needs it? Or because someone once told you it was good for you? Sometimes, protecting your health means letting go of things you've trusted for too long. And if a vitamin you thought was saving you could actually be draining your legs of strength. What about the ones they say support your vision, your skin, your immune system? Let's take a closer look at one of the most overlooked threats to aging bones and legs. It's time to talk about vitamin A. 3. Vitamin A, how it quietly makes your bones more fragile. I met Susan on a spring afternoon in Kyoto during one of the community wellness checkups I offer each year. She was 69, newly retired, with a spark in her eyes and the kind of curiosity you often find in teachers, because she had been one for nearly 40 years. Literature, mostly. Her voice had that calm authority that made people stop and listen. But her posture told another story. As we sat down, I noticed how she moved carefully, almost cautiously, as though her legs were unsure of their own strength. She mentioned a fall a few weeks prior. Nothing dramatic, but enough to shake her confidence. "It's strange," she said. "My legs feel fine most of the time, but the stairs at the train station, they feel steeper than they used to. And my hips get sore, even when I haven't done anything. I asked her about her diet, her lifestyle, and of course, her supplements. She pulled out a small bag from her purse. Inside were 5 bottles, fish oil, multivitamins, a separate capsule of vitamin A, cod liver oil. I've been taking these for years, she said. They help with immunity and my skin. Or at least that's what I was told. I nodded, gently, because her story was one I'd heard many times before. You see, vitamin A is essential. We need it for vision, immunity, and even cell repair. But there's a hidden truth most people aren't told. Too much of it, especially over time, can quietly damage the very structure you rely on to stay mobile and independent your bones. Vitamin A is another fat-soluble vitamin. It doesn't leave the body easily. Instead, it stores in the liver and soft tissues. When levels get too high, it begins to interfere with bone remodeling, a natural process where old bone is broken down and replaced with new tissue. But when that process is disrupted, bones don't just become brittle. They become dangerous. Studies have shown that excessive vitamin A intake is directly linked to increased risk of fractures, especially in the hips and legs. Even intakes just slightly above the recommended daily amount, when taken over years, can silently accelerate bone loss. For someone like Susan, already approaching the natural bone-thinning stage of life, this was like pouring water into a cracked vase. Eventually, it gives way. We ran a test. Her vitamin A levels were significantly elevated. Her bone density was below average for her age. We worked together to simplify her routine, removed the separate vitamin A supplement, reduced the cod liver oil, replaced it with a diet rich in beta-carotene from carrots, leafy greens, pumpkin forms that the body can convert safely and only as needed. Over time, her energy returned. Her soreness lessened. Her posture improved. She even started doing Tai Chi again in the mornings. And most importantly, she stopped fearing the stairs. Here's what I learned from Susan, and what I hope you'll remember. Sometimes, the things we do to protect ourselves can quietly cause harm if we never stop to ask why we're doing them. It's not about fear. It's about awareness. So if you're taking vitamin A, whether through supplements or fortified foods, ask yourself, is it truly needed? Or is it just a habit you've never questioned? Because strong bones don't come from blind repetition. They come from informed choices. And while bones give us structure, it's the nerves that give us motion, sensation, and stability. Which brings us to one of the most misunderstood vitamins of all. One that many take for mental clarity or energy, yet quietly damages the very nerves that carry their legs forward. Let's talk about vitamin B6. 4. Vitamin B6, the brain booster that can numb your legs. I remember the first time I met Henry. He was an expat from Minnesota, 74 years old, living in the mountains of Gifu Prefecture. A retired software engineer, quiet, thoughtful, with a dry sense of humor and a love for hiking the old pilgrimage trails around the village. But something had changed. He came into my clinic one morning holding a hiking stick he hadn't needed before. He smiled, but there was tension behind his eyes. "I'm tripping over flat ground," he told me. "And sometimes, I can't feel the front of my feet." At first, he thought it was age. Then maybe poor circulation. He didn't have diabetes, his blood pressure was fine, and his blood sugar levels were steady. But when I examined him more closely, the signs were clear. His reflexes were slow. His gait was unstable. And most telling of all, he couldn't feel the light pressure of my finger on the tops of his toes. That's when I asked him what he was taking daily. He pulled a bottle from his coat pocket. "Just this," he said, "a multivitamin labeled for seniors." When I read the ingredients, I paused. It contained 150 milligrams of vitamin B6. Vitamin B6 is essential. It plays a role in metabolism, energy production, and supports the nervous system. That's why so many supplements include it, especially those marketed for brain health or energy. But here's the part most people don't realize. In high doses, especially over long periods, vitamin B6 can become toxic to your nerves. It doesn't act like a typical water-soluble vitamin that simply gets flushed out. Instead, It can accumulate and begin to interfere with how your body transmits signals through the peripheral nerves, especially those in your legs and feet. The result is something called peripheral neuropathy, tingling, numbness, loss of sensation, weakness, and for many people, a deep, unshakable sense that something is not quite right. For Henry, it began as a slight numbness in his toes. Then his steps became clumsy. His confidence started to fade, and so did his independence. We immediately discontinued the supplement. We worked together on gentle physical therapy, grounding exercises, and a food-based nutritional approach. But nerves, once damaged, can take a long time to heal, and sometimes they don't recover completely. 3 months later, he was walking more steadily, but the numbness lingered. He said something to me that stayed with me. I thought I was taking it to stay sharp, but it dulled the very part of me that keeps me moving. That's the lesson I want you to take with you. Even something as seemingly harmless as a daily vitamin can become a hidden threat when used without understanding. Because the truth is, the line between help and harm is often invisible until we cross it. If you're taking a supplement for energy, brain health, or metabolism, I urge you to read the label. If your B6 intake is over 100 milligrams a day, especially from multiple sources, it may be time to ask your doctor some hard questions. You deserve to feel your steps, to trust your balance, to walk with confidence. And while vitamins often get the blame or the credit, there's another factor just as powerful and just as overlooked. It's not a pill. It's a pattern, a habit we've inherited from modern life, one that's doing more damage to our legs than most people realize. Let's talk about inactivity and the quiet danger of sitting too much. Shall we? 5. The hidden danger of healthy habits, when more is not better. Some of the most dangerous choices we make come wrapped in good intentions. A few years ago, I was asked to speak at a wellness retreat near the Japanese Alps. A group of retired professionals had gathered for a week of lectures, forest bathing, and traditional meals. Among them was a man named Thomas, a 68-year-old former pharmacist from Oregon. Tall, confident, and incredibly disciplined. He brought with him a leather pouch filled with neatly organized supplements. Over 20 different pills, all sorted by the day and hour. B-complex, CoQ10, omega-3s, antioxidants, green tea extract, glucosamine, calcium, 2 kinds of multivitamins, and a separate capsule for memory support. During the first group walk, I noticed something strange. He lagged behind. Not by much, but enough that I knew to ask. My legs feel heavier lately, he told me. Just a little off. I thought maybe I need more magnesium or taurine. We talked for a long time that evening, and what I learned from him has stayed with me. Thomas had spent his entire career around medications. He believed in data, dosages, optimization, but in retirement, that belief turned into habit. Each new study or article he read led him to add another pill. He trusted the science, but he forgot to listen to the one voice that mattered most. His body. What he did not realize was that many of the supplements he was taking overlapped. Several contained high doses of vitamin B6, others included vitamin A, and both of his multivitamins had vitamin E at levels well beyond what an aging body can safely process. He had fallen into the same trap that many do. We think that if something is good, then more of it must be better. A little helps, so a lot must heal. But the truth is, the body is not a machine to be fueled without limit. It is a living system with rhythms, with thresholds, and with needs that shift as we grow older. For a 35-year-old athlete, some of those supplements might have been harmless, even helpful. But for someone nearing 70 with slower metabolism, different absorption, and delicate nerve pathways, they became something else entirely. We made changes together, reduced his list from 20 to 4, prioritized food, introduced more fermented vegetables, sesame, grilled fish, and miso. He started moving more, sitting less. Within 2 months, the heaviness in his legs began to ease. And one morning, during a group walk in the pine forest, he walked beside me. That was a victory neither of us spoke aloud, but both of us felt. Here is the lesson I took from Thomas, and it is one I offer to you. Health is not about accumulation. It is about attention. Sometimes we confuse being proactive with being excessive. We chase wellness as if it were a finish line, but the real goal is not more. It is balance. Before you take that next supplement, before you add another bottle to your shelf, ask yourself this. Do I need this? Is my body asking for it? Or am I just afraid of doing too little? Because sometimes, in the effort to protect ourselves, we do too much. And in doing so, we begin to lose the very strength we hope to preserve. But supplements are only part of the story. There is something else. A habit almost everyone in the modern world shares. It is quiet. It is comfortable. And it is slowly taking away your power to move freely. Let's talk about inactivity. And what sitting too long is doing to your legs, your bones, and your future. Shall we? 6. Inactivity, the vitamin you're missing, is movement. I once visited a friend in Okinawa who lived in a village known for longevity. People there often live past 90, many still walking to the market, tending their gardens, and bowing gently without effort. One morning, I was invited to tea with a woman named Chio. She was 88 years old and had hands like folded origami, graceful and precise. As we talked, I asked her what she believed kept her so mobile. She laughed and pointed to her feet. These, she said, never stay still for too long. That moment has echoed in my mind ever since. Because here is what I see too often in the modern world. People spend more time sitting than they realize. At breakfast, on the sofa, in the car, at the computer, on the phone, watching television or reading. Entire days pass where the legs barely move, and yet we wonder why they grow weak. The truth is, no supplement in the world can replace movement. Muscles are built through use. Bones are strengthened through weight-bearing. Balance is trained through action, not intention. When we sit too much, especially in older age, the legs slowly forget how to support us. Blood flow decreases. Flexibility stiffens. Coordination dulls. And soon, the simple act of standing becomes a conscious effort. I remember a man named Gregor. He was 73, a retired translator who loved classical music. But over time, he became more sedentary. He read for hours each day, which kept his mind sharp, but his body paid the price. When I first saw him, he had begun using a cane, not because of illness, but because his legs no longer trusted him. He said he had not fallen yet, but lived in constant fear that he might. We didn't begin with medication. We began with the simplest task. Stand up once every hour. Then short walks after meals. Gentle stretches by the window. Later, squats using only a chair. And most importantly, a mindset shift. He no longer saw movement as exercise. He saw it as nourishment, like a daily vitamin but for his legs. After 4 months, he no longer used the cane indoors. He smiled when he told me he had started dancing again, just a little, to the music he loved. The lesson is simple but powerful. Movement is not something we save for the gym. It is the way we stay connected to life. It is how we tell our bodies, I am still here, I still need you, keep going. So if your legs feel weaker, ask yourself this. Not what you have been taking, but how long you have been sitting. How many steps you have traded for convenience. Because no pill can replace the power of a single step, repeated every day. And yet, sometimes even with the right movement, and even with better choices, we are left with questions. Am I taking what my body really needs? Or am I guessing? It is time we talk about clarity. Real numbers. Real answers. Let's explore what your doctor might be missing. And the tests you should ask for before it's too late. Shall we? 7. What your doctor may be missing. Ask for these tests. There is a small clinic tucked between rice fields and cherry trees in the outskirts of Matsumoto. I visit once a month to check on aging residents who prefer the old ways. No noise, no rush, no hospital walls. A woman named Emmy, aged 71, came to see me there not long ago. She was bright, cheerful, and beautifully organized. She brought a handwritten journal listing everything she ate, every supplement she took, every symptom she noticed. Her concern was not about illness, but uncertainty. She said, I feel like I am doing everything right, but something still feels off. My balance, my energy, my strength. I don't know what is missing. I opened her journal and saw a familiar story. Clean diet, regular movement, moderate supplements, but nothing obvious that pointed to a problem. So I asked a simple question. Has anyone tested your vitamin levels? She blinked. No, only the usual checkup. Cholesterol, blood sugar, blood pressure. That was the moment I understood what had been overlooked. Because in modern medicine, even with the best intentions, we sometimes treat the numbers on a screen more than the person in front of us. We run routine labs, but we forget to ask about the deeper details, especially for older adults. We ran a nutrient panel. Full one. The results came back with two surprises. Her vitamin B6 was well above the recommended limit, and her vitamin D was far too low, despite spending time outdoors. Suddenly, her story made sense. The numbness in her feet, the fatigue, the unstable walking, all tied to quiet imbalances in vitamins that no one had thought to measure. This is the part one want you to remember. Symptoms like weakness, poor coordination, or fatigue are often dismissed as normal aging. But sometimes they are signals. Signals that something inside your body is out of balance, quietly asking for help. And unless you run the right tests, those signals are missed. If you are over 60, ask your doctor for a full micronutrient panel. Include blood levels for vitamin E, vitamin A, vitamin B6, and vitamin D. Also check your potassium, magnesium, and iron. These are the silent players in your strength, your nerve health, your mobility. And do not settle for a generic answer. Ask your physician if they understand how these levels impact older adults specifically. Because your needs at 70 are not the same as they were at 30. If your doctor says it is not necessary, ask again. You deserve clarity. You deserve to understand what is truly happening inside your body. Emmy adjusted her supplements based on the results. She added more natural sources of vitamin D. She cut back on the B6, and within 2 months, her balance began to return. Her steps became lighter, her smile steadier. The lesson is this: even the best habits need verification. Even the healthiest routines deserve review. And when we listen not just to what we feel, but what our blood quietly reveals, we move from guessing to knowing. That is where true healing begins. Now that you know the risks, the habits, and the hidden threats, you might be wondering what to do next. So let me share with you a path forward. A simple yet powerful way to take back control of your strength and independence. Let us talk about how to rebuild your foundation. One step, one choice, one day at a time. Are you ready? 8. Rethinking supplements: a smarter, safer path forward. There is a small wooden bench beneath the plum trees near my home in Nagano. I often sit there at sunrise, a cup of warm barley tea in hand, and reflect on the quiet lessons my patients have taught me. One morning, as the mist curled through the trees, I thought of Mr. Paulson. He was a retired marathon runner from Colorado who moved to Japan to write a book about aging and resilience. When he first came to see me, he carried with him a plastic bag filled with supplements. More than a dozen bottles, each one chosen with care, based on articles, friends' advice, and promises of youth. But his legs had grown weak. He needed a walker not because of disease but because of fear. His body, he said, no longer felt like his own. He had done what so many do. He tried to preserve his strength by adding more. More capsules, more powders, more vitamins. Yet, with each addition, he felt further from the body he once trusted. We did something unusual. We stopped almost everything. Instead, we focused on real food. We rebuilt his routine from the ground up. One roasted sweet potato each morning, miso soup in the afternoon, a handful of spinach, a walk at dusk, resistance bands, gratitude journaling, and just 3 targeted supplements based on his blood work. 90 days later, he walked into my clinic unaided, slower than before, yes, but steady, upright, and smiling. Here is what that journey reminded me. The strength you seek is not found in the number of pills you take. It is found in the trust you rebuild with your body, the wisdom to ask what is truly needed, the courage to let go of what is not. Supplements are not the enemy. They are tools. But like any tool, they must be used with care, with precision, and with respect for the person using them. So let me offer you a path forward. Start with food. Choose whole, colorful meals rich in nutrients your body can recognize and absorb. Sweet potatoes, salmon, seaweed, leafy greens, fermented soy, sesame seeds. These are not trends. They are time-tested. Talk to your doctor about the supplements you take. Ask to measure what is in your blood, not what is printed on a label. Do not guess. No. And above all, pay attention to your legs, to your steps, to the way you rise from your chair. These are messages. Your body is always speaking. Learn how to listen. You have walked far in your life. You have overcome storms, carried others, and stood tall through change. Your strength is not gone. It is waiting to be reclaimed. And the first step is awareness. You do not need to do more. You need to do what matters. Now, before we close this journey, I want to leave you with one final reflection. Because your legs do not only carry your weight, they carry your freedom, your dignity, your future. And every choice you make today is a step toward the life you want tomorrow. So ask yourself, what will you stand for? What will you walk toward? Your journey continues, and I will walk beside you. Thank you for spending this time with me. Until next time, be well, be steady, and stay curious. If this video gave you something to think about, leave a comment and let me know what stood out to you most. Remember to like and subscribe so you don't miss tomorrow's video, where we'll uncover the one daily habit silently weakening your legs. Your journey is just beginning, and I'll be right here walking with you.